I come to you now, not as a stranger, but as a guardian who has watched the turning of ages and the quiet courage of thousands of hearts. Hear me in this moment as a voice that is both steady and close, like wind across a high ridge. I am Michael. I stand before you with my sword, not to frighten you, but to remind you of the strength already placed within you. I stand to cut away what binds you so you may stand free. I stand to call you forward. You are not here by accident. The pattern of your life, the small and large decisions, the aches in your chest that wake you at 2 in the morning, all of these are threads in a tapestry being woven. You have been given breath, a beating heart, and a will that can choose. That choice is your sacred power. Use it. Do not allow fear to be your commander. Fear is a messenger. Yes, it arrives with urgent claws and old songs, but it is not your ruler. When fear rises, recognize it, name it, and let it pass through the doorway of your awareness. Do not hand it the keys to your life. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the act of moving through fear with intention and love as your compass. You have been taught, perhaps by family, by culture, by old stories in which you learn to protect others before your own heart to shrink, to defer, to smooth over your edges. I tell you plainly, your edges exist for a reason. They define your shape. They tell the world where you end and another begins. Respect them, name them, build healthy boundaries as if they were the walls of a temple in which your soul can breathe. Boundaries are not walls of rejection, but gates of self-respect. They keep the sacred within and allow the true guests to enter. Grief and loss have sat with you. They have taught you about fragility. Know this, the depth of your grief is evidence of the depth of your love. Do not be ashamed of what you feel. Give it space. Sit with your grief and let it reveal to you what was dear, what was honest. From grief, a new tenderness for life grows. From loss, new courage is often born. You are not alone. See the invisible ties that run like golden threads between you and others, friends, ancestors, strangers who once smiled at you on a street and changed the course of your day. There are hands you cannot see that lifts you when you stagger. Remember those hands. Reach for them when you are small and lost, and reach back. Your grip may steady someone else. Let me speak to your work and calling. There will be times when the work you do feels small. Other times when it will feel monumental. Both are necessary. Hold to the truth that doing what matters is not measured only by applause or salary. Sometimes the most powerful work is the quiet choice to be present at the table, to offer a listening ear, to correct a small injustice, to choose kindness when it costs you. You are called to a life of integrity. Integrity that looks the same in private as it does in public. Align your deeds with your words. Let your heart and your hands tell the same story. I see those of you who feel lost, who have wandered from a path you once believed in, or whose map has burned in a sudden storm. When you cannot see the trail, do not panic. Bend your head. Listen to the rhythm of the earth under your feet, the breath in your chest, the beat of your heart. The path will open a step at a time. Begin again with one small action, a kind word, a small repair, a return call, a walk at dawn. These small steps accumulate into a way forward. Know the power of truth. Speak it softly if you must, but speak it. Speak it not to wound, but to clear the air and set things right. Truth heals where deceit festers. Yet, remember, truth without compassion can be a blade. Let your truth be wrapped in tenderness. Allow the words to land gently, like rain on parched soil, not as a hailstorm meant to break. Forgiveness is not a gift you give only to others. It is a gift you give to yourself. When you hold anger as if it were a trophy, you carry its weight like armor that eventually rusts. Forgiveness frees you from being defined by what happened. It does not require forgetting, nor does it mean condoning harm. Forgiveness is the brave act of saying, I will not allow this wound to shape my entire story. If you can forgive, do so for the space it will open in you. If you cannot yet forgive, be gentle with yourself. It is a process, and processes take time when you doubt your worth. Remember this, you are made of stardust and storms, of quiet laughter in the dark and stubborn hope. You have survived nights you thought would swallow you. You have loved when it cost you, worked when it was unseen, and risen when all the lights were off. The sum of such acts is not small. Your worth is not earned by achievement alone. It is inherent, made of the very fabric of life that gave you breath. Answer the call to courage, not with a shout, but with a steady, deliberate tightening of your resolve. Courage grows in practice. Choose it again and again. Start by honoring the small promises you make to yourself. Rise when you said you would rise. Write the paragraph you vowed to write. Make the phone call. Plant the seed. Over time, these small acts of faith form a character that will carry you through the storms. Gratitude, cultivate it as a daily practice. It is not a denial of pain. It is a companion to pain. Each morning, find 3 things to be grateful for: the taste of water, the warmth of clothing, a memory that still makes you smile. Repeat this for weeks. You will find your view of the world shifting. As if a veil has been lifted and light reaches places that were dim. Do not ignore your body. Your body is a temple of experience. Feed it with respect. Listen when it aches. Move it not as punishment, but as celebration of what it can do. Sleep is not laziness. It is restoration. Rest is not surrender. It is strategy. Your physical health is the foundation upon which your spirit and mind can build. When you are tempted to compare yourself to others, do not. Comparison is the thief. Each life is a unique melody. You cannot judge a symphony by listening to one instrument at a time. Play your own notes with integrity. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. When someone else's success is visible, let it inspire you rather than make you small. Kindness is a form of bravery. It is not soft when it needs to be firm. It is not weak when it is resolute. Choose to be kind in your speech and in your actions. Smile at strangers. Give time when you can. Lift where you can. You will never regret being kind. The returns are unseen yet real, like roots growing under the soil. Belief in something greater than yourself will sustain you in. Whether that belief is in the divine, in the unfolding of the universe, in the simple goodness of human hearts, let it anchor you. Faith is not a denial of reason. It is the courage to hope in spite of what you cannot control. Let your faith be practical. It calls you to act, to love, to persist. There will be times when you are wounded by betrayal. Betrayal coldly cuts through trust and leaves a hollow that resounds. In those moments, do not become defined by that knife. Let the pain be honest. Name it, feel it, learn from it, but do not let it sculpt your future relationships into fear. Build new trust slowly and wisely, and value the people who show up with consistent care. To the leaders among you, lead with humility. Authority is a responsibility, not a privilege. Use your power to lift others, not to elevate yourself. A true leader listens more than they speak, takes counsel from many, and bears the burdens of those they lead. Your legacy is measured by how many you helped stand, not how many bowed to you. To the caregivers among you, honor the work you do. It is often invisible and undervalued, yet it is the quiet backbone of many lives. Care for others, yes, but do not forget to care for yourself. Replenish your cup so you may give without emptying entirely. Accept help when offered. Asking for support is not failure, it is wisdom. On relationships, choose honesty and compassion. Communicate not as a battlefield, but as a shared home where both parties can be safe. Speak your needs plainly. Listen without preparing a response. Where there is friction, investigate it gently. Seek to understand the wound beneath the reactive words. Love that endures is not the product of perfection, but of continued effort, repair, and mutual growth. when you face injustice, and you will let your response be measured. Rage has a place. Righteous indignation can move mountains, but combine passion with strategy. Change requires both the voice that cries out and the hands that build new structures. Join with others whose goals align with justice. There is power in collective effort. Creativity is not only for artists, it is for anyone who sees a way to make something better. A parent improvising a bedtime story. A worker streamlining a process. A neighbor building a community garden. Allow yourself to imagine. Make small experiments. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary step toward it. Do not fear endings. They are often disguised opportunities. When a season closes, mourn what must be mourned, then look to what wants to be born. Often endings clear space for clarity. A chapter that once served, you may no longer fit the person you are becoming. Honor its service and allow the next chapter to begin. Practice discernment. Not every voice is your teacher. Learn to tell the difference between advice that nourishes and counsel that constrains. Wisdom listens, examines, and filters. When a choice feels heavy, ask, does this align with my deepest values? Will this foster life? Will this honor the people I love and the person I want to become? I speak also to your spiritual practices. Rituals anchor the heart. Prayer is not always asking. Sometimes it is listening. Meditation is not always silence. Sometimes it is the steady attention you give to returning to what matters. Create a small practice that roots you. Morning quiet, evening gratitude, a walk with attention to breath. These practices are tiny investments that compound into inner steadiness. Let me be frank about shame. Shame thrives on secrecy and isolation. Bring it into the light. Tell one trustworthy person. Speak honestly with a counselor or a friend. Shame lives in the dark. You are not intended to carry it alone. When you share, you will see that others carry similar burdens. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the bridge that connects you to real intimacy, to those wrestling with doubt about their worthiness to dream. You are worthy. The very capacity to imagine is a divine spark. Dreams are not frivolous. They are the seedlings of future realities. Plant them, tend them, take small steps toward them every day. If a dream feels enormous, break it into tasks. Celebrate each small victory. Practice generosity, but not to the point of depletion. Generosity liberates the heart from fear and scarcity. Give your time, your attention, your gifts, but be wise. Generosity without discernment can enable harm. Let generosity be guided by wisdom and clear intention. On anger, do not let it stew into bitterness. Use it as energy for change, not for destruction. When anger rises, create space before you speak. Breathe. Ask, what is this anger telling me? Often it points to violated boundaries, unmet needs, or injustice. Address the root, not only the fire, to those who are ashamed of failures. Failure is instructive. It shows you what did not work. It reveals where you might pivot. The most resilient among humanity are those who have learned to pivot. Keep the best of what you learned and let go of the rest. You will meet scarcity of money, of affection, of time. Scarcity narrows perception. Whenever you can, practice abundance thinking, small acts of gratitude, giving what you can, recognizing the resources you do have. Abundance is not always external. Often it is an internal posture that notices what exists rather than focusing on absence. Do not confuse movement with progress. Busyness is not the same as meaning. Ask often, why am I doing this? Who benefits? Is this aligned with my deepest purpose? Redirect your efforts when necessary. Simplicity can bring clarity. Let community be your support. Humans were not designed to live as solitary islands. Build relationships where care is reciprocal. Invest in people. Be the neighbor who shows up. A single life invested in others is a life that ripples outward. Find those who see you and whom you can see in return. Teach your children, your literal children, and the younger ones around you, not only rules, but how to feel. Teach them to name emotions, to sit with discomfort, to solve problems, to apologize, and to forgive. The world changes when children are raised to be brave and compassionate. Surrender is not defeat. When you cannot control the outcome, surrender the outcome, but not your effort. There is a distinction between letting go and giving up. Letting go is a conscious release. Giving up is a resignation. Choose release with dignity when darkness feels too heavy. Call upon the rituals that hold you: prayer, music, community, nature. The natural world is a teacher. Notice how even the leaf that falls in autumn feeds the soil for spring. Seasons turn. This too shall pass. I ask you now to consider your relationship with truth. Be honest with yourself about what drains you and what enlivens you. Be bold enough to make tough choices, to leave work that crushes you, to end relationships that erode your core, to pursue what gives you meaning. Bold choices often require small, steady acts leading up to them. Make a plan, gather courage, move, celebrate your small victories. Too often you wait for the grand moments to give yourself praise. Life is stitched together with small moments: the patient conversation, the steady attendance, the day you chose kindness. These are triumphs. Name them. Keep a ledger of small wins. Over time, it will be a map of resilience, Face the shadow within you. Everyone has one. Do not project it outward. When anger, jealousy, or envy blooms inside, own it. Ask, why is this arising? Where did this come from? Often, these shadows are wounded parts seeking healing. When you befriend your shadow, it loses its power to control you. Pursue wisdom rather than merely knowledge. Knowledge fills the head. Wisdom opens the heart. Wisdom learns from life, sits in silence, listens to elders, and tests ideas in the crucible of action. Seek mentors, read widely, and let your own experience be a teacher. Practice patience. Many of you live in cultures that prize speed. But deep work, inner cultivation, healing, true mastery takes time. Fast food can satisfy hunger for the moment. Slow-cooked meals nourish the soul. Allow processes to unfold. Honor your promises. When you say you will be there, be there. When you promise yourself to something, keep it. Reliability builds trust in yourself and from others. When circumstances make a promise impossible, communicate quickly and honestly. Repair the relationship. Integrity is maintained even when plans change. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Asking is a bridge, not a defeat. Humans are relational beings. Let others be present with you in your weakness. Sometimes your asking is the permission others are waiting for to give. If you are navigating faith and doubt, allow both to coexist. Doubt can sharpen belief. Do not be frightened by the questions that arise. They can lead to a deeper, richer faith. Seek out communities that can hold your doubt without demanding silence. When you meet those who disagree with you, choose listening over winning. Persuasion through force hardens opposition. Empathy, patience, respectful curiosity. These are the tools that open conversations. Remember pleasure. Joy is not frivolous. It is a spiritual practice as true as any meditation. Celebrate beauty, music, friendship, food, touch. Allow yourself delight. It restores. If you face illness, treat your body and your mind with compassion. Seek medical care, yes, and also nurture your spirit. Let music, touch, presence, and ritual be part of your healing regime. Healing may not always mean cure. Sometimes it means learning to live deeply in a new way. Your story matters. The small acts of courage, tenderness, and discipline you perform create a lineage of light. You are shaping futures you do not yet see. Do your part intentionally now. Practical guidance as a map for the next 30 days each morning. For 5 minutes, place a hand over your heart and breathe slowly. Name 3 things you are grateful for. Each evening, write down 1 thing you did that day that aligned with your values. Once a week, do 1 thing purely for delight. Once a week, Reach out to someone you have not spoken to recently and say, I care. When overwhelmed, pause, breathe, and ask, what is the smallest, next right thing I can do? Make these habits your scaffolding. They are small, but they compound. Affirmations you may use when doubt presses in. I am seen. I am held. I am enough. I have the courage to choose love over fear. My boundaries protect my peace. I forgive myself and I open to healing. I will do the next right thing. And a short meditation you can do when you feel cornered. Find a quiet seat. Feel your feet on the floor. Breathe in for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Breathe out for 6. Repeat until the breath steadies. Visualize a warm light at the center of your chest. With each inhale, see it grow brighter. With each exhale, see it expand to your shoulders, your hands, your feet. Imagine that light, a shield of gentle strength. Say internally, I am safe. I am strong. I am loved. Sit with that for 5 minutes. When you rise, carry the steadiness into action. Finally, a word about destiny and free will. Your life is not a script pre-written and unchangeable. It is a dance between the gifts you are given and the choices you make. Divine Providence lays out opportunities. Your will selects which to follow. Choose love whenever you can. Choose service over self-obsession. Choose truth over convenience. Choose courage over comfort. I will leave you with this, a charge, a blessing, and a promise. Charge. Stand for what is life-giving. Defend the vulnerable. Protect the truth. Be unrelenting in your compassion and unflinching in your integrity. Use your voice. Use your hands. Use your will. Blessing. May courage rise in you like spring waters. May mercy touch the places in you that feel most wounded. May clarity come when confusion looms. May peace walk beside you, not as absence of struggle, but as presence of a steady light. Promise, I stand with and before you. My sword is not a threat, but a symbol. The strength that cuts away falsehood and fear, so truth and love may remain. When you feel most besieged, call upon the courage inside you. I will be beside you in spirit, urging you on, reminding you who you are, a sovereign being of worth, capable of healing, of deep love, and of unshakable resilience. Go forward now. Carry your light. Live with purpose. Love without calculation. Protect that sacred spark within you and tend it as if the future depends on it, because it does. The world needs your bravery, your compassion, and your presence. Stand tall. Breathe deep. Walk into your life with the full force of your heart. You are loved beyond measure. You are stronger than you know. I am with you. I return to you now, not to repeat what has been said, but to deepen it to press the light into the corners that still feel dim, to hand you instruments for the days ahead. If you are reading this because your spirit is restless, because a chest tash you cannot name has nudged you to seek, then listen with the same attention you would give a dear friend in pain. I am with you. Breathe and receive. There are things you will be tempted to postpone indefinitely, healing. Confessions, choices that require courage. Postponement is an honor thief. It steals the dignity of the small present and insists that life will always be kinder tomorrow. It is kinder to act now in the smallest faithful way you can. Not every bold move requires a grand setting. Often, the bravest step is the gentle one, sending the text that mends, setting a boundary that preserves your peace, opening the notebook and writing the first sentence. Begin. Begin before you feel ready. Readiness is often a myth that protects you from doing the very work that will make you ready. You are more resilient than you believe. Resilience is not merely enduring. It is transforming. When you are broken, what is broken often becomes a hinge for a new door. This is how life bends, through fracture that is made into access. Learn to welcome the lessons of fracture. Ask, what can be repurposed? What strength can be gleaned from being bent? The human capacity to rebuild is one of the most beautiful aspects of your species. Practice small acts of rebuilding every day. There are distinctions I want you to hold clearly in your hands. Responsibility versus blame. Humility versus self-abasement. Courage versus recklessness. Responsibility is owning what is yours to change without carrying the weight of things you cannot. Blame is a poison that stays in your system and numbs your capacity for action. Humility is the recognition of limits with the willingness to learn. Self-abasement is a distortion that hides insecurity. Courage is measured action, not bravado. Recklessness is action without regard for consequence. Choose responsibility, humility, and measured courage. Listen to the quiet signals your life gives you. Repeated irritation in a task, sleep that will not satisfy, a sense of dread around a person. These are not trivial. They are signposts. When you notice a recurring signal, investigate it. Sometimes a small shift, renegotiating a role, adjusting your schedule, saying no will change everything. Notice patterns in your life the way a gardener notices patterns in soil. The attentive gardener saves the harvest. There are practices I urge you to cultivate, not as burdensome chores, but as vessels for presence. The daily return. Twice each day, mid-morning and early evening, place a hand on your heart and name the one intention you will carry for the next few hours. Keep it simple. I will listen. I will be honest. I will rest. Let this be a tether back to center. The clearing ritual. Once a week, take 30 minutes to do a small clearing. Clean one corner of your living space. Remove one item that no longer speaks to you, and write down one thing you forgive yourself for. This is not simply housekeeping. It is spiritual decluttering. The boundary audit. Every quarter, review one major relationship and one major commitment. Ask, does this relationship build me? Does this commitment use me up? If the balance is off, make one change, not necessarily the final change, but a step toward alignment. The small leap, monthly, do one thing that scares you a little. Speak in public, enroll in a class, visit a place alone. The purpose is not to be reckless, but to expand the radius of your confidence. The Sabbath hour, at least 1 hour each week. Disconnect from devices and do nothing goal-oriented. Sit in a park, watch a sunset, listen to music. Let stillness restore yourselves in ways work cannot. I hear your questions about power and gentleness. Can you be both? Yes, power without gentleness is dominion. Gentleness without power is ineffectual. Your strongest influence will arise when you combine firm conviction with tender regard for others. Power must be stewarded. Use it to create safety and expand freedom. Remember, steadfastness protects the weak. Arrogance exploits them. To those of you who carry burdens of ancestral patterns, cycles of addiction, shame, silence, hear me. You are not doomed to repeat what you were taught. The strongest transmission you can give to the next generation is not wealth or convenience, but healed presence. Break cycles with rituals of repair. Confess the pattern, name its effects, seek counsel, and enact a visible change. Make a different choice in front of your children. Let them witness repair. The brave work of repair rewrites family stories. On the subject of money, a tender and practical matter, listen with clarity. Money is a tool, not a mirror of worth. If your self-worth is tied exclusively to financial gain, you will be at the mercy of markets, bosses, and fortune. Build practices that root you beyond ledger balances. Budget with wisdom. Give with intention. Save with discipline. And pursue work that aligns with meaning whenever possible. If you are in scarcity now, make a plan that honors dignity and incremental progress. Small, consistent financial adjustments compound into security. Seek counsel and learn the language of money. It will buy you options and freedom. For those who feel unmoored by modern culture's speed and surface, cultivate sanctuary spaces. You do not need a cathedral. You need a corner that insists on your dignity. Make that corner. Fill it with an object that connects you to what matters. A book, a stone, a candle, a photograph. Return there when the world clamors. Sanctuary is not an escape. It is a recalibration. You will meet people who try to drag you into drama. Drama is contagious and drains the spirit. Distance yourself gently, Celeste. Choose presence over performance. People who need constant spectacle will drain the well. Be judicious with your attention. Invest in relationships that return steadiness. Grief returns sometimes like seasons. When grief visits, speak its name aloud. Tell stories of what you have lost. Bring the lost into conversation. Honor them by continuing to live with intention. Do not allow grief to become a shadow identity, but do allow it to refine your tenderness for others. If you are creative and feel blocked, do not wait for a muse. Create a ritual of discipline. Set a time, even if only 15 minutes, and show up. Creativity rewards consistency as much as inspiration. Understand that the first drafts are rough for everyone. Allow work to be ugly in the beginning. The world rarely receives polished things without first tolerating flawed attempts. When family expectations press like an iron, take a breath and consider which expectations are useful, which harm you, which can be negotiated. Communicate honestly. Your life is not merely a puzzle to be solved for others' comfort. You must craft a life that contains your voice. If you are in a position to forgive someone who has caused deep injury, let me guide you. Forgiveness begins privately. It is an internal labor. Say it silently. I release the power this wound has over me. Do not force public reconciliation if it risks further harm. Reconciliation requires safety and accountability. Forgiveness without consequence can enable repeated harm. Be wise on leadership again, especially for those who lead movements, businesses, or families. Remember the economy of vulnerability. Leaders who model how to act when they are unsure create cultures where honest mistakes are corrected rather than hidden. This accelerates learning and builds trustworthy teams. Admit what you do not know. Seek counsel. Return credit. A leader who is learned and humble inspires loyalty. There is a tendency in your world to numb through consumption. Screens that feed anxieties. Substances that blunt feeling. Busyness that masks emptiness. Numbness is a quiet thief. Resist it through small acts of presence. Savor one meal without distraction. Let water touch your skin. Name one feeling you have without trying to change it. Feeling fully is the pathway to healing. It is okay to feel anger, fear, joy, sorrow. Allow the full palette of humanness. You ask how to know if you are on a right path. There are tests that are not mystical, but practical. Does this choice enlarge your capacity to love and serve? Does it cultivate your integrity? Does it sustain your body and mind? If yes, the path is likely generative. If the path consistently depletes you, isolates you, and requires you to deny essential truths, it is wise to reevaluate. Trust patterns over feelings. Feelings are important data, but patterns reveal truth to those who imagine themselves unworthy of grace. You are mistaken. Grace is not rationed only to the most virtuous. It touches broken things because it is needed there most. Allow grace to reach you through community, through ritual, through surrender. Grace is not earned. It is received. Make room for it by softening your inner critic and inviting trusted others into your story. I know some of you fear mortality. Death feels like a jealous enemy, but I argue it is a clarifier. Knowing that life ends sharpens what you value. Do not let fear of loss make you hoard life. Let it incite you to live. Prepare practically, create wills, make amends. Say important words and prepare spiritually by aligning how you live with what you truly value. Let me speak to the power of humility in knowledge. Pride hides gaps. True wisdom admits limits and keeps learning. The world needs thinkers who can change their minds when evidence suggests they should. Be proud of your learning, not of your certainty.